February 23, 1945. Mount Suribachi, Iwo Jima. 5 Marines and 1 Navy corpsman climbed to the summit. They carried a flag, an American flag. At 10:30 a.m., they raised it. A photographer named Joe Rosenthal took a picture. 1/400th of a second, single frame. That photograph became the most famous image of World War II. 6 men raised that flag. 3 of them died on Iwo Jima within days. The other 3 came home as heroes. 2 wished they hadn't.
Your father knew that photograph. Everyone knew it. He saw it in newspapers, on posters, on stamps, on monuments. He probably didn't know the men's names. Very few people did. This is their story.
Iwo Jima, 8 square miles of volcanic rock and ash, halfway between the Mariana Islands and Japan. The Americans needed it. Airfields for bombers hitting Tokyo. Emergency landing strips for damaged B-29s. The Japanese knew it. They fortified every inch. 21,000 soldiers, 11 miles of tunnels, concrete bunkers, hidden artillery. Orders: fight to the death. Kill 10 Americans for every Japanese soldier. February 19th, 1945. D-Day on Iwo Jima. 70,000 Marines hit the beaches. The Japanese let them land, waited until the beaches were packed, then opened fire.
Mount Suribachi, 550 feet tall, volcano, extinct but ominous, dominated the entire island. Japanese artillery observers at the top. They could see everything, call down fire on any American position. The Marines looked up at that mountain, knew they had to take it, knew it would cost. The first 4 days were hell. The Marines pushed inland, inch by inch, yard by yard. 25,000 casualties in the first week. Dead, wounded, missing. But they surrounded Suribachi, cut it off, prepared to assault.
February 23rd, 5th day of the battle. A 40-man patrol from Easy Company, 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines, climbed Suribachi. Lieutenant Harold Schreier led them. He carried a small American flag, 54 by 28 inches. Orders: get to the top. Raise the flag if you can. They climbed, expecting ambush any second. Japanese bunkers everywhere, caves, spider holes. The Japanese were out of ammunition. Most were dead. The survivors let the Marines pass. 10:20 a.m. The patrol reached the summit. They found a length of pipe, 20 feet of Japanese water pipe. Lieutenant Schreier attached the flag to the pipe. 6 men raised it. Down on the beaches, Marines saw it, the flag going up. They cheered, they cried, they fired their weapons in the air. Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal was on the beach. He turned to General Harlon Smith. That flag will fly for 500 years.
But that first flag was small, hard to see from the beaches, and Forrestal wanted it as a souvenir. Colonel Chandler Johnson, battalion commander, wasn't giving up that flag. His Marines had earned it. Find another flag, a bigger one. Get it up there. They found one, bigger flag, 96 by 56 inches, from a Navy ship. 3 Marines and 3 others volunteered to carry it up Suribachi. Another length of pipe. Heavier. Longer. They climbed to the summit, 1 hour after the first flag. Noon, February 23rd. 6 men raised the second flag as the first flag came down. Photographer Joe Rosenthal was there. He'd missed the first flag raising, rushed up for the second. He raised his camera, speed graphic, 4x5 film, didn't even look through the viewfinder, just pointed and shot. 1 frame. 1/400th of a second. Click.
He didn't know if he'd captured anything. Couldn't check. Film cameras don't have playback. He sent the film to Guam for processing. Went back to photographing the battle. 3 days later, that photograph was on the front page of every newspaper in America. 6 men in that photograph. Time to learn their names.
The 6 flag raisers, from left to right in the photograph: Ira Hayes, Pima Indian, Arizona, 22 years old, Marine Private First Class. Franklin Sousley, Kentucky farm boy, 19 years old, Marine Private First Class. John Bradley, Navy Corpsman, Wisconsin, 21 years old, Pharmacist's Mate Second Class. Harlon Block, Texas, 21 years old, Marine Corporal. Rene Gagnon, New Hampshire, 20 years old, Marine Private First Class. Mike Strank, Pennsylvania, Czechoslovakian immigrant, 25 years old, Marine Sergeant, Squad Leader. 6 ordinary men, 1 extraordinary moment. Let's meet them.
Sergeant Mike Strank, the leader. Czechoslovakia born. Came to America as a child. Steel mill town, Pennsylvania. Joined the Marines in 1939, before the war. Career Marine. Tough, fair, the kind of sergeant who kept his men alive. His squad called him the Old Man. He was 25. Mike Strank died on March 1st, 1945, 6 days after raising the flag. Japanese artillery shell, direct hit, killed instantly. He never knew his photograph was famous.
Corporal Harlon Block, Texas, high school football star, enlisted with his best friends, all-American kid. His mother said he was quiet, strong, reliable, the kind of son every mother wanted. Harlon Block died on March 1st, 1945, same day as Strank, same artillery barrage. He was 21 years old. His mother saw the photograph in newspapers. She insisted that was her Harlon. The Marine Corps said no, that's someone else. For 2 years, they fought her, insisted she was wrong. She wasn't wrong. Mothers know their sons.
Private First Class, Franklin Sousley, Kentucky. Farm boy, 19 years old, youngest of the 6. He wrote his mother every week. Cheerful letters, talking about coming home, what he'd do after the war. His last letter arrived after he died. Franklin Sousley died on March 21st, 1945, 26 days after the flag raising. Japanese sniper, shot in the back. His mother got 2 letters that day. One from Franklin, saying he was fine. One from the Marine Corps, saying he was dead. 3 of the 6 flag raisers dead within a month. 3 survived. Navy Corpsman John Bradley, Doc, Wisconsin, 21 years old, pharmacist's mate assigned to the Marines. Doc Bradley saved lives on Iwo Jima, ran through fire to treat wounded Marines, got hit by shrapnel, kept working. The Marines loved their corpsmen. Doc Bradley was one of the best. He survived Iwo Jima, came home, never talked about it. His family asked him about the flag raising once. I didn't do anything special. The heroes are the ones who didn't come back. He never mentioned it again for 50 years.
Private First Class Ira Hayes, Pima Indian from Arizona, 22 years old, quiet, shy, uncomfortable with attention. He was a good Marine, solid, dependable. He never wanted to be famous. Ira Hayes survived Iwo Jima, came home to parades, celebrations, war bond tours. People calling him hero, taking his picture, shaking his hand. He hated every second of it. I'm not a hero. Mike Strank was a hero. Harlon was a hero. Franklin Sousley was a hero. They're dead. I'm just alive. Ira Hayes died in 1955, 10 years after the war. Alcohol, exposure. Found in a ditch on the reservation. 32 years old. Fame killed him as surely as any Japanese bullet.
Private First Class Rene Gagnon, New Hampshire, 20 years old, runner, carried messages between units. He was the one who carried the second flag up Suribachi, handed it to the others to raise. Rene Gagnon survived, came home, tried to capitalize on his fame. It didn't work. America wanted heroes to stay humble. Rene wanted to make money from the photograph. People called him opportunist, sellout. He died in 1979, 54 years old, working as a janitor. The photograph made him famous. Fame ruined his life. 6 men raised the flag. 3 died in combat, heroes by any measure. 3 survived. 2 wish they hadn't.
April 1945, 2 months after the flag raising. The photograph was everywhere. Newspapers, posters, magazine covers. America was exhausted. 4 years of war, millions serving, thousands dying every week. The government needed money, war bonds, to keep fighting. They needed a symbol, something to rally around. The photograph, the flag, the moment, the hope. They brought the 3 surviving flag raisers home, put them on a war bond tour. John Bradley, Ira Hayes, Rene Gagnon. They traveled America, 33 cities, parades, speeches, handshakes. People cheered them, called them heroes, asked for autographs. They stood on stages in front of massive reproductions of the photograph, reenacted the flag raising with a prop flag, over and over, night after night. Ira Hayes hated it. He was standing on stages while his friends were still on Iwo Jima, still fighting, still dying. He felt like a fraud. One night, he got drunk, refused to go on stage. I'm not a hero. The heroes are still over there.
The war bond tour raised $26 million, enough to fund the war effort for weeks. The photograph worked. America rallied.
But the cost to those 3 men was immeasurable. John Bradley went home to Wisconsin, became a funeral director, married, had 8 children, never talked about Iwo Jima, never talked about the photograph. His son wrote a book about him decades later, Flags of Our Fathers. That's how his children learned what he'd done. Ira Hayes went back to the reservation, tried to forget, couldn't forget. The photograph was everywhere. His face on stamps, on posters, on monuments. He drank to numb the guilt, survivor's guilt. Why did I live when they died? January 1955, Ira Hayes was found dead in a drainage ditch, 2 miles from his home on the reservation. 32 years old, frozen, drunk. The Marine Corps buried him with full honors. Arlington National Cemetery would have taken him. He's buried on the reservation instead, where he belonged.
1954, Arlington, Virginia. The Marine Corps War Memorial was dedicated. Bronze sculpture based on the photograph. 32 feet tall. The 6 flag raisers, frozen in bronze forever. 3 of the actual flag raisers attended. Ira Hayes, Rene Gagnon, and John Bradley. They stood looking up at themselves, cast in metal. 78 feet tall, including the base. John Bradley cried.
That photograph. 6 men raising a flag. It became the symbol of Marine Corps sacrifice, American determination, victory through courage. The memorial at Arlington, every Marine who passes salutes it. The image appears everywhere. Stamps, coins, advertisements, movies. But the 6 men are often forgotten. Mike Strank, dead at 25, never saw his fame. Harlon Block, dead at 21. His mother fought 2 years to get him recognized. Franklin Sousley, dead at 19. His last letter arrived after his death. John Bradley, lived quietly, died in 1994 at 70. Ira Hayes, dead at 32, killed by survivor's guilt and alcohol. Rene Gagnon, dead at 54. Fame destroyed his life.
Your father knew that photograph. Everyone did. If he was a Marine, he knew it better than most. The flag raising at Iwo Jima represented everything the Marines stood for. What he might not have told you, that photograph captured 1/400th of a second on a 5-week battle that cost 26,000 American casualties. 3 of those 6 men died within a month. The 3 who survived carried the weight of that moment for the rest of their lives.
Iwo Jima, 36 days of fighting, March 26, 1945. Declared secure. 27 Medals of Honor awarded, more than any other battle in American history. 7,000 Americans dead. 21,000 Japanese dead, almost the entire garrison. Was it worth it? The airfields saved thousands of B-29 crews, emergency landing strips, fighter escorts for bombing raids on Japan. Strategic victory, absolutely. But at what cost? 7,000 dead American boys, average age 21, for 8 square miles of volcanic ash.
That photograph is everywhere. You've seen it hundreds of times, on monuments, on posters, on stamps. 6 men raising a flag. Now you know their names. Mike Strank, dead 6 days later. Harlon Block,
dead 6 days later. Franklin Sousley, dead 26 days later. John Bradley, survived but never talked about it. Ira Hayes, survived but died from survivor's guilt. Rene Gagnon, survived but fame ruined him. 1/400th of a second. One photograph changed everything for 6 men. 3 died as heroes. 3 lived as ghosts. The next time you see that photograph, remember, those are real men, real names, real stories. Not symbols, not monuments, not legends. Men. Your father knew the photograph. Now you know the men.